Good morning. How are we all going? I thought I would talk this morning from my own experience. I will have to admit that I absolutely hate this camera angle. It's too hot in here. I'm sweating. I don't like anything that's going on, and I don't feel pretty. Something that everyone feels, whether they're a man or a woman, if they're put in this position. Pretty easy test we could do to establish that is just put people in front of a screen, a camera, and a monitor, and then film their initial reaction, and you will see the same thing. It doesn't matter whether they're men or women. And basically, I'm going to talk about the phenomenon being falsely presented by basically everyone, I would assume. And then extremely polarized because of two differing opinions on the same phenomenon being ran through usually a profit-deriving initiative. Just some initiative towards something or other, and a means to some type of ends. Let me just find myself. I haven't done this either. I haven't spent anywhere near as much time presenting to camera as a woman as I have as a man. And let me just explain the basics. I won't write it down. They're just distractions. If I write it down, it helps me take my mind off things so I can flow a bit better. There's no doubt in my mind that my body... I'm going to have to get scientific. I was going to try not to. I'm going to have to get really specific down in the details. Whatever's happening isn't necessarily a desire for me to be a woman. It is a desire for my body to look as a woman's does, because then it works, like it biomechanically works. Unlike Joe Rogan, no offense, Joe, I do not want to have a career as a bridge troll. You know what I mean? As someone who goes down in mines that are very short and I don't know, lifts heavy bags of gemstones out of the thing with a pickaxe over their shoulder, which is basically what Joe Rogan's body was designed to do. He's just an extreme outlier that is, found his way out of the mine. He's hung up his pitchfork, and now he swings a kettlebell instead, and is, preparing himself for the World UFC War Showdown, where we all collectively gather in octagons to fight it out for who gets control over the nootropic global supply of protein powder. I don't like doing this because I like Joe a lot. Not that way, but you know what I mean? I appreciate a lot of things he's done. But it's like when the country that Joe represents is dropping, a hideous amount of bombs, sinking ship, doing all these things. Yes, the Iranians are a nightmare regime, but it's like, well, what's going to stop you doing that? And it doesn't seem like we're going to roll out, like you didn't roll out a UFC ring. You didn't send Joe Rogan to do a podcast in Iran, which I think is odd given all the preconditions now. It's like Joe Rogan is constantly placed there to discriminate against people that were born as men who are now presenting as women, which is even confusing because women have been presenting as men in the same exact capacity, like the same level, everything like it. This is I've tried to do this right now, and I'm not acting here, so I'm not trying to extend anything past a certain point. But basically, women with short hair who dressed in office attire, they're imitating men. And so if you imagine, if we're imitating from both levels, we're going to hit some type of middle ground. And there are just so many preconceptions like fueling this divide of this thing that, Joe, if you're not a member of this, why are you continuously talking? And why have you never had someone on your show who can speak about this phenomenon? It's like you have backed yourself into the corner of the gym and are fending yourself off from like ravenous, cocksucking transvestites in your mind with a barbell pole or something. And it's like, what the hell is going on there that is being legitimized? With full respect, your manifestation as a, nearing senior citizen, no offense, making sure that your testosterone levels are at the same as a 22-year-old fucking shot putter is the exact it's the exact level. I have not taken one hormone. It doesn't have anything to do with hormones. I'm thinking about it, but I'm not there yet, because it's like, this is something else. We are not all born with the same form. And it's funny that there's an obsession with visual, with the aesthetic, is going to the top of the pile with everyone. And this is both sides. I'm not going to leave the other side unspoken for. That is, it's equally as atrocious on the other side. Basically, all my job ever is finding the middle ground and assuming that the middle ground, has a higher likelihood of being the truth than the two outer extremes. And I've been pretty good. That's been a pretty good assumption, and it tends to work. But basically, there's something happening. So the manifestation of physical masculinity is not something that is stable. Maybe in fairy tale it is, but in our actual history, the kind of movers and shakers of our world for a very long time could only really be described as feminized. Like, if you take, you take the primal, the Liver King archetype, which you're just one step back from, really. No, you're a few steps back from, and he's not even the extreme. So he's like, take that as the typical ultra masculine, barbarian, whatever. It's been a long time that a far more feminized masculine presence has been having influence over large populations. It's almost like what Liver King does for a simple manifestation of the masculine archetype. It's like things like continuously bashing the trans phenomenon, even though, some of it did need to be bashed, and I contributed to it because it was absolutely fucking ridiculous. But it's not necessarily those people, and it's especially not the younger versions of those people. And that's just a very complicated scenario. But I'm going to say something now that I think is just as valid a point, and is kind of, is really, it's going to show how ridiculous the constant, provocation onto the center from these extremes is. So I listen to Joe Rogan all the time. I have no doubt. So his voice is really his tool of choice. Okay, it is his broadsword. It is his battle axe. It's not an actual axe. It's not even his fists. You know, I've only seen Joe Rogan kick something once. I saw him kick a bag, and it was impressive, yes. But Joe Rogan's voice is his broadsword or his battle axe in the international field of soft diplomacy, if you want to call it that. You are a politician. You are in the business of politicking. Like you speak your words to influence, a really large amount of people. There's no doubt about that. So that, I don't think I get argument that Joe Rogan's voice is his weapon of choice. Now, there is no doubt in my mind that my father, who was born in 1932, if he had have heard Joe Rogan speak, he would have called him a pufter by the way that he speaks. He speaks like a woman. His voice is a trans voice. It's not necessarily to do with the depth of the voice or the low register or anything like that. It's the pattern of speech. It's the characterizations of certain phrases, the enthusiasm, all those things. He is imitating, like in a lot of cases, to my ear, and even more so to my father's ear, a woman. That's exactly the same, right? So this isn't. It's not. I'm not saying right. Oh, we've got to fucking. We've got to get our fucking sound sensors out. With AI and map out whose speech is feminine, whose isn't. Although that would be interesting. You know what I mean? We have 5 senses. We don't just have one. One sense here has been really cooked of late. It's been burnt out to within an inch of its life. And it's actually the favoritism to this one sense of sight. That is my assumption. That is what is leading to the kind of slightly more extreme manifestations of gender presentation, slightly, but not really. If you look back in history, it's like it's actually kind of pretty. It's not really even that extreme. It's ultra realistic, I think, and that's to do with the hormones and the different tools. But yeah, it's not extreme. There aren't. I think if there were ultra extreme, huge breasted, huge hipped, massive Amazon fucking transvestites walking, that's more extreme. It seemed like the trend has been to, promoting this towards young people. And I'll basically explain the driver. It's like, I'm not even at the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm a woman. Yay, whoopsie-doo. I'm going to go fucking on hormones. I'm not even there yet. I reserve the right to change my mind, and I'm on that journey myself. I do assume if I was in another place, if I was in Europe or something like that, where it was colder and the clothing was different, all those things, I probably would have, because it's just really obnoxious to be experimenting with this stuff here, because it's it's hot. You're instantly half naked, which is not, it's not like a thing that you do anyway. So it's and that's a little insight into the vast differences around the world of people's manifestation of their gender. So if you're born in a hot country as a woman, you are almost immediately instructed to be half naked for a significant amount of time, and then judged on the same scale as a woman who grows up in Russia, who's cloaked head to toe in woolen garments and a scarf. It's like that's something that should be being discussed. But you have to open up the female world, and you have to get out of the fucking the simplified world of bro politics or bro science in order to do that. And when there are arguments like, oh, this is just mental illness, this is thing, it's like, no, that's it's almost like the discrimination I feel like Joe Rogan felt for being like a comedian, for being a drug user, like a marijuana user. for being Italian, for being short, for being all these things. All that you need to apply is the same logic. It's like, right, imagine I pull up a fucking science, like scientific graph. It's like short men, short Italian men are 80% more likely to commit, a violent act in a fucking public toilet. So they're required to carry a fucking license in order to. It's like, think it like I'm not actually suggesting that. I'm suggesting you to go through the process of how would you respond if that were so, right? And it's like, why would there be discrimination? Well, because there was a cultural movement of discrimination against Irish people. There is a cultural movement against short people. So it's not difficult to imagine. And they're the same type, the same level attributes. You can't change them. You are a short Italian man. A heavily, at periods of time, heavily discriminated version of a man. It's like, let's just keep strolling into this territory and see what triggers you to anger, what triggers you to say, hang on, no. And then see if we can get you to jump over to the opposite, where you're meeting not an extreme person reading fucking pornography to children, but somebody, wandering majoritively through a physical capacity where it's like, I am highly understanding the biomechanics of my body and realizing that it's like it ends up being so feminine that it is just easier to be a woman, to present as a woman, although that is ridiculous because it's like, what do you suggest? And it's like, I'm in a hot climate, in these things, it's like my body's already doing that. Like, for me to not be in pain, it's like I need to move all these ways. I'm not feeling the need to present a female voice. But then what am I? Then I'm an object, fit for exactly as much discrimination. See, it doesn't matter. It's like if you, the same way, it's like my father would judge a person's movement and call them gay. You've got to remember that this phenomenon of like closeted queerness, right? Closeted queerness is the majority of our recent history. It's not this open kind of thing. Where if, and this is in the language of the extreme, promoters of the LGBTQ movement, it's like they're claiming that this is a liberation from a closeted, closed thing. And it's like they may have gone too far in one particular avenue. But you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because we need to understand that everything is viewed through that lens. So in my father's day, he would describe somebody's movement as homosexual. Again, it's equally as discriminatory. Like, it probably is a huge reason to whatever. It's like, I followed that. I was like, well, I better not walk like a poofter. I better not walk like a gay person. Like, not fearful or not any of the things that you might think, like not shrinking. Yeah, like standing tall to injure myself. And this is a phenomenon. It's like every men punch down to younger men and to whatever, like infinitely. And the only escape traditionally has been the escape through the masculine fucking, expression of courage on the battlefield. Like, that is what that was designed for. You punch down on the man, on the son, hit him, keep him down, so that he can burst through into the fucking field of combat and claim his fucking victory. But we don't have this field of combat anymore. The field of combat that we're currently seeing is ridiculously expensive fucking artillery being shot like fucking, it's like, that doesn't, and with not even, bar Trump kind of standing out at the front of the podium and taking ownership of the situation, that's what we have. And then we have a bunch of noise going on everywhere else, confusing the situation. And it's like, really, I just need to reiterate, and this isn't saying myself, but I'm saying it in this field of war, it is almost more likely that a man who has had this same thing, they've been punched down on, right? Instead of the field of play on the battlefield, which is extinct and has been extinct for a long time, they manifest, a transgender like archetype and go and, corrupt an entire other nation. That's more likely than what you're doing. You are promoting a globalized gambling monopoly. And that's okay. But it's like, we need to fucking wind that up. Your manifestation of owning your own club and being in this, it's like, that is a manifestation of thriving and busting through what could only be described as a global fucking gambling ring online. The two largest things on the internet were gambling and pornography. And this is where we live, right? We were forced to live in the internet by, not knowingly. I'm not saying you knew. I'm saying that you have, you've all collectively, and I understand the complexity of the whole thing. Like, this is not ever a thing to blame. It's like, but you have established this, and you yourself are trying to build your fucking escape pod in the form of comment, which is noble. And I understand that you went through a whole bunch of different pre-conditions to get to that point. It's like wherever you jump on the train, it's like, it's a lot more obvious for me, like coming from like a completely, you grew up in cities and things like that. I didn't. I grew up in basically like, what's that show called? Little House on the Prairie, like not like one step back from that, mate, kind of. Whilst exposed to the same things, it's like that we're gonna have difference in manifestation. And I can still say, it's like, and I know you didn't have a close relationship with your biological father, you had a stepfather. Like, that seems to be a really, really strong indicator for certain things. In my experience, it's like, I have my biological father as a huge influence, and he was massively corrupted by my mother and by the government of women acting as if my mother was the queen of fucking the universe and following her model, despite the fact that she can't organize anything. So I'm stuck in a position where I'm like on a frontier land in a dress, combating 7 women that can't change a tire between them, and expecting, and basically being like driven into a trench where I'm going to be dispatched and buried in a fucking shallow grave with thousands of other men. There is no way through this without adjustment. My presentation here is exactly as valid historically as yours. In fact, it is more so. Like, I'm not sitting there interviewing like basically cultural saboteurs, promoted to the highest level, drug addicts, reckless behavior, reckless spending, reckless of all these things, like just basically agents of fucking chaos that have been projected all around the world. That's you. I'm not at the top of a concentrated propaganda machine spurting out one particular thing when you haven't even it's like the amount of times I've heard you speak this to well, why don't they just have a talk about it? Why don't they just have a talk about it? It's like, you haven't. Go and interview one person. One person. Like, the truth is that there is no Colosseum. You are the Colosseum, right? In conversation. But it's like, for some reason, you won't bridge that conversation, which to me seems really like hypocritical. You're already a confronting person to go and have an interview with, and you never speak to that. You speak to it in your ridiculousness. You kind of self-condemn yourself, you self whatever, degrade yourself and go, oh, I'm a useless drug addict, conspiracy theorist, fucking cage fighter. And it's like, that's a confronting person to go and have an interview with. Especially someone that's discriminating against your exact thing and then defend yourself knowing that there is that is ridiculously large. And all of those factors are not, they're included in it. So it's clear to me that it's like you are extending the divide. I don't think you know you are. You either don't know you are, or you're being really well remunerated for doing this. But if we're using the metric of your weapon of choice, which is your voice, and I will swear on a fucking Bible, and I'll say, I have no doubt that my father would have described the way that you speak as gay. Gay as fuck. You know what I mean? Not commanding, things like that, not drawing on the full extent of the English language. Obviously, it in some ways, if we want to delve into historic racism, English is your second language. But you claim to be at the pinnacle of the English, like, well, are you doing a net positive towards the English language, or are you dragging it down to the gutter? Are you dragging it into the organized criminal underworld that your people seem to thrive in? You are the archetype of an organized criminal, but you are presenting as if you were a fucking, kindergarten teacher. It's not old. It's not new, that phenomenon. Like, we had kindergarten cop. We have a 6'2" bodybuilder being a kindergarten teacher with a German accent. Your country is pretty consistent in its presentation to claim superiority over the rest of the world. But there is a really large hypocrisy of a, steroid-using, tattoo-covered, criminal consorting, mass media personality with a fucking global empire of listeners, constantly punching down to someone who he doesn't understand, and then failing to even offer those people a relevant voice. And this is where it's like, you spoke yesterday or the other day about vaccines and how the over control by the vaccine promoters towards the narrative against anti-vaxxers, did more damage to vaccine hesitancy. Like, it made that more because it muddied the water. So you're doing the same. And I just can't see a reality. So I know at basis, probably what you're trying to do is preserve the ultimate masculine archetype. Well, so am I. I do it through narrative, and so do you. I have experienced the level, and basically it comes down to, it's like, I have a different body type than you. That my assumption is, like, if not hindered by my work, by my by an assault, and by confinement into this digital war ground, which is a nightmare. I hate video games. You love video games. I hate them. I was forced to play fucking video games when in my arenas of sport, I was, at the highest level of athletic ability, and it has completely corrupted my body. I've been exposed to thousands and thousands and thousands of images of women. I was raised by a woman. I was done all these things. It's like, I can't help what my biology is manifesting. Evolution doesn't look at a history book with fucking, pretty pictures of Alexander the Great and fucking, I don't know, He-Man and fucking Conan the Barbarian and get to work. It gets to work in the actual world with the millions of inputs that you can't control. That's the whole point. Otherwise, why would there be a platypus? Do you think that possum was up there who's like, oh, one day my children are going to have a fucking duck bill and a fucking poisonous little spine and a beaver tail, and we're going to swim around and lay eggs? No, it obviously doesn't work like that. We don't know what the future is, but our collective biology, that means all of us, including your Pufta voice, more than likely does. And the largest strain on I think, like, our bodies and our minds is being in opposition to that. It's being like counter to the flow of whatever that direction is. And I really do think that your constant criticism of this trans phenomenon, although, like, if you get specific, like, down, yes, I totally agree that children should not be, pushed and prodded and done these things. But it's like, well, then the counter to that isn't, absolute opposition and aggression and discrimination. The counter to that needs to be more acceptance of strange behavior, which your behavior is off the fucking Richter scale of strange. I couldn't have even actually legitimately showed any of your content to my father because he would have absolutely, just shaken his head and gone, that is a ridiculous person. I know that would be the case, despite the fact that 90% of what you say is absolutely, like, spot on and wonderful. I think you, just like, say, Vladimir Putin, is holding on for dear life to that masculine architect, which is noble, and it's something that needs to be done. But it's not new. We have countless examples of history teachers, of English teachers, like historians, poets, storytellers, like writers, actors, all these things have been doing that job very well. In fact, that is more than likely the only place that you have ever experienced the kind of grandiose, combative things that you claim to represent, but don't. I'm sure your boxing bag is very, very, very impressed by your physical capacity, but the world knows you for your voice. And at the moment, there is a small portion of your voice that is contributing to the de-evolution of mankind. Just do the simple statistics. If we don't have battlefields in which ultra-masculine presentations of glory and, all these things, noble, whatever, then we need to find a new arena. Now, we've already had that in our history. This is your founding fathers. This is, the English founding fathers. This is Magna Carta. There's all these things. This is how we've been doing this. And it has always been ceremonially held in a presentation of violent display. So you can watch right now as the Canadian Prime Minister goes and enters our parliament, and he's led in by a giant mace, which is a weapon that is designed to crack a man's skull open. But it's held by a woman, and it's completely gold, and then they walk in and have a little quip about their experience in Oxford. That's how we've been as English people, as British people, for a very, 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 very long time. You are a recent arrival to that arena, but you are representing a vast region of land and people that have been in constant rebellion away from it, claiming that there is some promised land over the horizon, some noble fucking new world order is going to rise from the fucking ashes of your fucking constant warring, in both the physical reality and in the internet. But all we have is a giant casino filled with digital fucking prostitutes and a bunch of fucking gyms where people are training to have a showdown that will never, ever happen, because how could it? The Polish were laughed into the history books, constantly mocked into the history books because they dared to do the ridiculous thing of riding on horseback against tanks in World War II or World War I. I can't remember which one it is. It's like, this is who you are. You are training the Polish armies, the global Polish army. Lift heavy things, get strong, hate trans people, do these things. It's like the trans bridge is the bridge to civilization. It doesn't mean you have to end up doing the fucking cha-cha on a fucking stage with fucking in a full sequin dress. It doesn't mean that. It means for a very, very long time, thousands of years, in fact, even all the way back to your fucking roots in the Roman Empire, it's still present there, and it made up the majority of our democratic process. I don't know exactly what it's like. If I'm stepping on your toes here and it's preventing you from selling supplements or fucking weights, or I don't know. But it's like, I'm And the intention of this isn't to embarrass you or do any of these things. And I don't have a large enough, viewers, anything to do that. It's an invitation. It's an invitation to find not the extreme, not to critique the extreme, to which, if we present the same argument on you, it's very easy to fucking downgrade your entire cohort to a dumb fucking Neanderthal bunch of fucking roid rage fucking morons. It's exactly the same. It's like you use that and you claim that gives you legitimacy. It's like, I'm just speaking about what I want to speak about because I'm actually just a dumb fucking, UFC fucking commentator and comedian. But it's like, you're not anymore. And I think it's like the courage that you speak about on the battlefield or in physical things on the UFC. It's like, you're in the fucking ring. You are in the octagon. It's just not the octagon that you thought you would be in. It's not in the octagon of your peers. You have jumped out of it into another octagon. And this is the time when you need to make a decision. And it's the decision you've probably been making your whole life. And it feels very strange to me to be, 20 years younger than you or 10 years younger than you, speaking like this to you, but I've been doing this my whole life and, I'm trying to do it with respect. You are not on stage in a comedy show, in a comedy showdown. You are not on a sitcom trying to get to the top of your ratings. You are not in a UFC ring or competing with other, global sports commentators. You are in the political ring, whether you like it or not. You know what I mean? And that is a tale as old as time. It's like, look at Gladiator if you want to, go into the cinematic. Look at Russell Crowe. Sat there, some of you think you will not fight. That is you right now. And it's like, you need to get a better lay of the land that you were in. You need to get a better lay of the arena that you're in. And you need to understand the protocol that is expected so that if you have any chance to survive that. And this is what I'm claiming. So some of you think you will not fight. That is you. Every other arena, you're at the top of your field. You've blasted out of it in ways that far outnumber any of my, accomplishments. But in this arena, you're thinking that you won't fight. And I'm basically in your corner, you know what I mean? Saying 20% fucking pushback here and fucking, find the representative from the trans community, not me, but someone else, that will present the inevitable middle ground of this argument and stop perpetuating the extreme arguments at either end. That is your role in this position. If you do not want to be, declared as a tyrant, as a saboteur, as a destructive force in the Western civilization that you claim to represent, then that is the position forward. Find the relevant people in history and just apply the trans phenomenon to it, and you will find that you are in that cohort. You know what I mean? There's a time, my father grew up in the age of, cinereels. It was like there'd be a cinema thing, that was it, or a newspaper or radio. So you would only ever hear someone's voice. And if they heard your voice, they'd think you're gay. It wouldn't matter how many fucking, chin-ups or fucking weights you did. It doesn't matter. There are different levels of, different levels of perception. And it's this level of perception which is our largest enemy to do with the extreme Islamic people in the Middle East. Like, they live in a different perception. It's like they live in your perception. We will not beat them in their field of play. If we continue down that, all your cohort will eventually join them because you keep maintaining that archetype as the highest level of civilization. And I don't know, it's like, it's a specific injuries. Like someone from this cohort in some way has particularly injured you, and it's like it could be something to do with the pharmaceutical. I am amazingly hateful towards the fucking pharmaceutical industry. Amazingly, I fucking hate it. You know what I mean? But it's like, so that's why I don't manifest. It's like I could take hormones and it would make everything way better. But I'm stuck in the same side as you, in the same place as you. I didn't want to be in this fucking arena either. I was in business. I was in performing arts, things like that, singing and like all this. And it's like, even the comedy, it's like, I didn't want to be a fucking comedian. You made that arena. You contributed that. You forced me to have to present a comedic thing constantly, which degrades my argument, which is, sabotage of civilization, which is brought by your empire, your United States empire, which makes everything slower and take longer because everything has to be drawn through the lens of comedy, which is ridiculous. I think you can even see that. So imagine you're trying to fucking go and, sign paperwork to get your license renewed or something, and the fucking person, you just want to get out and the person keeps telling jokes. That's a nightmare. Imagine even worse, someone's stolen your car, you're at the police station. Like that is English humor. That would be English humor. That skit, you can imagine that. My car's stolen. It had $10,000 in it and movie tickets. I was going to go see the last Fleetwood Mac concert before they all die of cocaine overdose. And now I'm fucking, I'm sitting here and they're like, hey, I bet you didn't think you'd be sitting with such a charming fucking thing. Have you heard the one about the one-legged fucking horse? Like, that's a skit because of how annoying it is. That is what the United States has forced the entire world to do, while it at the same time drops hyper fucking sonic fucking missiles on desert people. While it is enslaving its own population. And you've got to take that all on board. You've got to be like, that's us. Literally, it's us. Not me, us. It's the US. That's what you call it. A linguistic fucking trick that George Washington probably, I don't know who came up with it, but somebody came up with it. That's a pretty ingenious trick to call it us. What are we going to call our magnificent empire? We're going to call it us. And we're going to bring all the tired and poor and sick and fucking whatever and Pufta speaking from around the world to be part of us. And as long as you're part of us, you won't be part of them. Like that English humor. It would rattle on for about 2 more minutes. Be like, as long as you're part of us and not part of them, then you will be part of the solution. At the end of the day, once you get to the bridge and find that us is there already waiting, them will be left there on the spot where they will never be able to rise up and conquer us again because they are like that. That would be a Monty Python sketch. I'm writing it on the fly, so it's not that, but I'm sure you can get the tempo of it. That's a ridiculous thing. In modern day, advertising, you wouldn't be allowed to do that. You wouldn't be able to call it us. Now, if we take this to our legal system back home and we say, well, it seems like the United States persuasion through the use of their initials of the US, instilling a sense of ownership is classic cult formation, and they have misled countless generations of Americans towards following them into oblivion, whilst they insist on making quips about ridiculous things. Like that's the place that we're in. You're stuck between desert terrorists and, the pinnacle of the Western civilized world, and you're hopping up like an eager fucking bunny rabbit into that arena constantly. And it's like, where does it go? Where does it go from here? Like, and I think you've made jokes about what's his name, the Brock Lesnar. You've said like Brock Lesnar wouldn't just fucking rape wouldn't just rape me. He'd wear me like a fucking condom and rape someone else with me. And that's, I think that's what you're doing to the world while telling jokes, which is just as offensive. Is like, believe it or not, it's like you have a homosexual, like you spend your entire time speaking majoritively to men, right? In a very, it's like claiming that other men, like it's getting thin, and it's getting very gay. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm far more afraid of aggressive gay men that talk a lot than I am of any trans men. And it's like, where are you going to land? Not by your own decree, but by the decree of the masses. You know what I mean? And it is just one small step to get back to that. It's like, think who is another, like, we have this already as well to do with like rock stars, which is basically, that was my training ground. That's where I was groomed. I was groomed by rock stars who now look like, it's so funny. It's like, you think of, if you look at Robert Plant in the 70s, which I'm sure you grew up during, that's like, that's a trans person. That's a trans man. That's what that was. Like, if like that is it. Like, look at them now. That's the same. It's like, but we have, you know, we've had how many 60 years of fucking hormones, of media, of cosmetics, of fitness advice and things like that. Like, just all these different things. And still, you know, Robert Plant did it pretty well. And it's like, I almost guarantee if you interview Robert Plant, which again, it's like, why haven't you done that? Interview Robert Plant and say, hey, Robert, if the trans thing was as open as it was just recently when in the 70s, would you have been trans? And it's like, yes, almost definitely. So it's like, oh no, we've been swept up. And this clearly present phenomenon that keeps presenting itself in different ways keeps getting sliced up and used in different ways. And that's the same if I go back to Lenny Bruce, someone who you claim is your hero, or any of these comedians from back in the day. It's like, realistically, they fucking hate you. And they don't think that you've evolved comedy. They think that you've devolved comedy and broadcast it, you know, en masse and diluted the power. I'm not saying that they do, but I'm saying that is a claim. And it's like, who did more damage where? I don't know. But that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say, why are you continuously stoking after the bell? It's like the bell has rung. The community that was, you know, and this is majoritively nothing to do with the trans community. It's to do with the medical fucking community. Highly paid surgeons, psychiatrists, and lobbyists and governors and all these things, and mayors and judges, all these things that have profited from an mass experiment done onto all the little Robert Plants, all the little Led Zeppelin fucking Rolling Stone wannabes across the fucking land, and have turned them into prostitutes. The internet is not sufficiently built to carry all the people that you claim are being liberated by its exposure to the world, because it's a shit venue. If the internet wasn't a shit venue, you wouldn't have felt the need to have your own venue. You know, it's like, these are the arguments that are just going to be coming at you. And it's like, the intention is not to try and strip anything away from you. It's trying to expose the fact that you have prospered in an environment of degradation. And you are also, you know, at the forefront of trying to reclaim the physical world. I'm not arguing that. But the physical world, you know, 2026 onward, will have trans people in it. And, you know, it's a far better reality where those people are not just welcome, but like welcome in once the appropriate criminals are identified. And the criminals are not the ones, you know, with flowers in their hair, and they're not the ones with fucking pretty little dresses, and they're not the ones, you know, experimenting with hormones and things like that. They're the ones that are, you know, sharpening their fucking chainsaws or their scalpels or their fucking, you know, or their prescription pads to prescribe and to profiteer and to warmonger something that is only profitable in the divide. If you are othered and you are separated and you are, you know, strange things, like that's where the evil fucking people can draw you in. It's like, they all hate you. Listen to Joe Rogan. They hate you. They hate you. You can't even present as a man. How dare you? You cannot go halfway and just have long hair. It's like you have to go the whole way, and it's all going to be paid for by the government. And if you don't like it at the end, you can volunteer suicide yourself. So again, you're exposed, doing more damage. But I think that there is, you know, based on your personality, me listening to you for over 10 years, I think this is your moment. Moment isn't, you know, you've gone through lots of moments, but your moment now is to show that you act differently in the spotlight. Show that you can cash the checks that you wrote 3 years ago about the phenomenon on the opposite side of the fence. You know, it's like, and I think that's it. It's like you are kind of drifting offshore at the moment in a rip, which is like a current that pulls you out to the ocean. And the sharks are circling. I know you don't like sharks. Again, gay. That's like from surf culture. It's like, oh, what are you afraid of the fucking sharks, mate? Why don't you fucking stroll in and look at the mirror and lift some heavy shit? There are all different levels of masculine competitiveness, including the arena of female presentation, which has a few sub-arenas, you know. It goes all the way from like high-level democratic politics all the way to Cindy Sequins doing fucking high kicks at the Moulin Rouge. That is the vast, you know, landscape. It's the same with the competitive, you know, combat, martial arts. It's the same. It's like there's sumo wrestlers, and then there is, I don't know, capoeira. That's a really large fucking range. It's all the same, and it is all the same intensity, you know, and it's like where we all have the same goal to make sure that women don't take over the world. And it's like that needs to be identified. And that's actually that's the place where you're the most of a pussy, is the criticism of women. Majority of men, they're absolutely mute towards the horrors that fucking collectivized feminist fucking, and not just feminist, collectivized feminine assault on mankind is causing. Almost every man, no matter how fucking how anything. In fact, it's counterintuitive. It's like the most masculine, the most aggressive, the most testosterone fueled. They are the most silent when it comes to the crimes that women are collectively committing across the fucking world with their newfound power. And I basically said this. I described this the other day, right? And this should be the statistic that, you know, should be at the top of it should be on every front newspaper, you know, across the world, and it should definitely be spoken about on the Joe Rogan show. It's like men support the top 1% of men in any arena. That is what they do. They don't support the lowest. They mock the lowest. So for men to collectively support another man, they have to be in the top 1% of whatever it is they do. Even if that's fucking figure skating, the same thing applies. Well, it's a bit of a fancy man, but did you see him do that figure skating? Like, that's that's where it's not seen as gay, which is so funny. Honest, as a recent arrival to the other side of this fence, it's like that is the weirdest thing of how the shadow of man works, of the masculine works. Is like it just hides its gay. It is so ashamed by its gayness that it has all these rules. It's like, it is not gay if you only support the top 1 percentile of masculine exploits, and you completely ignore the 99% below it. Okay, one. Now, women support 99% of women, whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? If a woman drops, say a woman is buttering 3 pieces of bread and she only drops 2 of them, 99% of women will outwardly celebrate the fact that that woman didn't drop the 3rd. That makes a Pareto distribution look like 6-7. Right? That difference in the Western world, in Western civilization, in the constantly promoted, constantly reinforced, never checked, is above and beyond any of the dangers that we see anywhere else. It doesn't matter how many crazy fucking Muslims are yelling at the top of their fucking lungs, Allah Akbar, and sharpening their fucking swords and signing their fucking air drones or anything like that. That distribution of what I just declared, where men will only support the top 1% of the highest performers in clearly attributed, professions or skill sets. And it's hard. I'm not trying to be funny. It's hard to be funny when you're trying to get exact phrasing out of specifics. Whereas women will support 99% of across the board women's anything. Let's bring another analogy in. It's like 99% of women will support a woman who is it's like all of the things. It's like a drug addict, a kleptomaniac, a constant liar, a terrible mother, any of these things in maintaining her motherhood. This is this fucking sisterhood of the traveling pants that was projected around the fucking world. And unlike the masculine alternative, like the historic masculine precedent, there is no mass atrocities in the scorecard of the global, not feminist, the global feminine collectivization. Not feminist, the global feminine collectivization. That's always what we've been in. As men, we've always been, globally collectivizing towards something and nationalistically. But there was never any argument. And this is the most dangerous time that has ever existed, because there is no precedent on the women's column, despite the fact they've been educated to all the same atrocities that men have committed, but with a fresh slate. Like, here, ladies, there's no way that you can do any of the things because you are a lady and you are bolstered by the 99% of women all collectively supporting you. And you obviously have nothing to worry about because you've never done anything wrong before. But it's like humans have 100% done all the things wrong that humans have done. And there is not enough of a difference, trust me. This is actually my speciality, between men and women. And the things that I glean on a daily basis about the differences between men and women would absolutely shock you if you understood this. Like that. So it becomes, it's like, you are selling fucking supplements and online gambling and all these things while the women are literally, statistically, certainly going to kill us all. There's no doubt about it when you look at the numbers. And the only person that will ever be able to actually confirm this is somebody experiencing what I'm experiencing in this fucking thing. Now that, if there is 100%, or let's say a 99.9% chance that the collectivization of feminine activity across the world is going to 100% fucking kill every fucking man, woman, and child on this fucking earth, that's one hell of an evolutionary force at play. You know, there is nothing I can do about the United States fucking, aircraft carrier landing off Perth and just obliterating this place. It's like the same as I can't believe that they're not just using my specialized cable technique, which is just drag a fucking cable through the houses. It does the same result. It's far less likely to have whatever damage, but it's equally as, it's effective. It's not like fucking fireworks, but that's Chinese anyway. It's like, why are you using fireworks to scare the fucking Middle Easterns? Like, just use a big cable and your ships. Drag a fucking big cable with your ships just up like a fucking cheese cover. You know what I mean? And that's like, that's way scarier because it's so slow and monotonous. It's like, oh no, the cable. We cannot stop the cable. We cannot stop the cable. And that's how they'll speak. They'll be like, no, we surrender. Fuck this. Fuck this. You win. But it's like flying random fucking, armament. It's like, what are you going to do? Everyone just ends up sitting there going, if my day has come, it has come. I do not know. There's nothing I can do. Not like that cable that I can see slowly creeping towards my house. It's just going to fucking topple it down like it was, like a Jenga. And they don't have any ships anymore, so they can't do it. Anyway, so evolution kind of knows that. It's like evolution, we have not evolutionarily prepared individually to protect ourselves from meteors. We have not evolutionary, individually adapted to protect ourselves against, I don't know, like fucking solar fucking, what's it called? The fucking whatever. We have not evolutionarily adapted to protect ourselves, individually protected ourselves against hurricanes, except for like our adapted skill sets. Like when we have an environment where we have a 99.9% statistical likelihood that every single woman on Earth is going to kill us all, the only thing that I would expect evolution to do was to start turning men into women. That's it. Like just imagine the cartoon character. It's like, imagine there was ever a scenario like it shouldn't be, it's not a surprise to think that like there are a huge amount of like ultra feminists that just outright want to kill Joe Rogan. Okay. It doesn't matter how many kettlebell swings he does. If he wanders into the wrong place, they're going to kill him. So it's like nothing he's doing in that fucking physical preparation is doing anything. And all he's doing is amplifying the divide between the other. It's like, and you see, the problem is, it's like you think because you've been lulled into a observation where the only manifestations of trans people that you're seeing, trans women that you're seeing, have been basically trained and henpecked into subservience to the global feminized collective. You haven't seen the other result. You haven't seen the thing. It's like some of them survive. Some of them creep out from under the barbed wire fence, from under the chicken coop, you know what I mean? And run into the fucking wild. And then come back and tell all the men that there is a 99.9% likelihood that all the women collectively fucking operating together as a completely fucking la fucking driving exam fucking, monstrosity are going to kill us all if we do not stop them. That's the gayest thing you can do. It's like, what you're going to fucking stay with the women? That is it. See, this is the thing. It's like, it's not, oh, you look like a girl. There is no doubt in my mind that a majority of the most fearsome fucking warriors and warlords and everything in the world across the fucking history looked incredibly beautiful and feminine. No doubt. But they wouldn't stay with the women. That's the thing. That's where this is being fucking lost in translation. It was almost certain in large military battles that the enemy had almost always entirely corrupted the entire feminine population of your region. That's the whole point. You stay with the women. You're not going to fight with us. You stay with the women. That's where the hatred towards the trans thing comes from. It's not from actually looking like a woman. If you're fucking off marching on, massive fucking patrols or any of these things that civilization has used, probably gay as fuck. And so you probably, benefited from looking attractive to other men. But if you actually stayed with, that's cowardice. Whether you stay in the physical location or whether you stay in the conceptual conversation, that's cowardice. That's what needs to be understood. These women collectivizing in our communist societies have given themselves all nursing jobs. Why do they all want to be nurses? That's the only thing for them to do. And who do they let in the fucking door? All of our enemies. Where? Into the place where they're supposed to look after children. And what do they have? What happens? Corrupted into killing their own children and killing all of the other people from the place where you go when you're unwell. That is like level 1 fucking warfare. That would have been understood. It's like, that's why there weren't fucking hospitals. You don't look at ancient Rome and be like, they're not constantly saying, we need new hospitals. What industries are the largest employer of women that are basically useless? Nursing. It's like, is there a war going on? No. So why is there an amplified need for nurses? Because they're fucking being corrupted by our enemies in the most advantageous, most significant fucking global collectivization of feminine alliance that has ever been seen. Like, statistically, absolutely certain this is happening. There needs to be a break in this. Punching down towards trans women is actually just collective feminine cowardice being manifest by men that think they're fucking tough because they lift fucking weights or that they're covered in tattoos. You stand with the fucking women while they fucking stand with our enemies. You are our enemy. Make no mistake, this is a fucking tale as old as time. This has happened over and over and over and over and over and over and over again in every fucking civilization across the fucking globe. Empires do not win wars by pandering to women. They win wars by being ruthless warriors in the appropriate field of warfare that is being risen to the highest level. Then this is what it is. It is speech. It's speech, it's presentation, it's rhetoric. And that is it. There is still a very massive opportunity that our largest, factor, the X factor, if you will, to ending all of these conflicts is to collectively fucking discipline every single last woman on this fucking, in this place, on your fucking continent, on my continent, and say there is no free ride. Milk the fucking cow, bitch. You know what I mean? It's like, milk the cow, you stupid cunt. And shut the fuck up. I'm burning your fucking credit card. That's it. That's collectively how we win all of these wars. The most anticlimactic fucking thing that's ever existed. It's like a man in a, not even a dress, a man slightly dressed as a woman had to come along and tell every last bitch in this fucking world to milk the cow and shut the fuck up. That's it. Why? Because then everyone has milk that they can have on their fucking cornflakes, and then the world is peacefully fucking quiet of all the collective feminine bullshit. All the fucking, just the bullshit constantly. And when she finds herself with her ass on that fucking stool, back in the position that she has fucking utilized to elevate herself, it's like, that's all they did. They went from this to this. That's it. That's it. They were collectivized through a digital fucking casino where they turned milkmaids into prostitutes. That's it. And now we have no milk. We have no cows. You know, milk cows are just as good to eat as fucking beef cows. That's all we need to do. Shut the fuck up and milk the cow, bitch. That's it. Stop fucking sucking the dicks of our enemies. We know you're doing it. Right? And then it's like, bitch, you better go to work and kill that fucking boss of yours. And they won't. They won't do that. They will never do that. They'll ignore. They'll be like, no, of course I'm not fucking... Of course I'm not collectively fucking, you know, betraying all of our fucking things. Of course not. Darling, I would never do that. I would never do that. Oh my God. Why would I do that? I love you. I love you. Why would I ever collectively, you know, betray our entire nation to somehow, like, end up with a fucking padded cushion in the harem of some fucking, you know, Sikh? Why would I? Why? I don't even like fucking sucking dicks. Yeah. I don't even like her. I don't even need a new handbag anymore. I don't know. I don't know why you keep telling me to just milk the cow, bitch. I don't know. I've never even milked a cow before. And it's like, I know, you're going to learn. You're going to learn how to milk a fucking cow and make cheese. That's it. It's like fucking thousands of conversation, billions, trillions of dollars swirling around the fucking world that is ended by one fucking sentence. Shut the fuck up and milk the fucking cow, bitch. That's it. That's it. Oh, and collect that. It's like a fucking, like, there is actually a gong in the highlands of Nepal that is actively on its way down, right? The Dalai Lama himself is bringing it down. And on the fucking side of that gong, it says, shut the fuck up and milk the cow, bitch. And the Dalai Lama himself will stand underneath the shadow of the Washington Monument at noon on Friday the 13th and go, boing, and every woman will go, I'm sorry. And they'll all start milking cows. And we will all enjoy a fucking milkshake. That's what that song's about. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and 99% sure we're going to kill all the men unless the Dalai Lama rings that gong. Okay, we used to have a thing here, like in Australia, Hey, it's Saturday, where people would do like a kind of variety show where they do comedy or acrobatics or music, and if they were shit, they would be gonged by a guy named Red Simons. And it was called Red Faces because you'd get a red face if you were embarrassed with how shit you were. And that's what we need. Red Simons is going to be brought out. He's going to be conjured from the ether. Daryl Summers is going to, you know, present this live coverage of the Dalai Lama ringing the fucking gong in the shadow of the Washington Monument to snap all these bitches the fuck out of their ultimate betrayal of Western civilization. Yeah. Pretty fucking happy. Pretty happy with the with this report coming from the HMS Dairy Queen. This morning, we work tirelessly around the world to defend the oceans, the land, the space, the internet, the financial situation. We are the cutting edge of global. We are with the tip of the spear as far as global diplomatic solutions go. And I appreciate, Joe, if you've taken the time to get all the way through this. God knows I've listened to probably 60,000 hours of your content, and I hope you understand this small suggestion here on what will more than likely be the final days of a global banshee fucking shopping spree that has wrought absolute destruction. And it is so bad that they will, they will have no problem filling their account book with atrocities that they can now draw upon whenever they feel like collectively getting together for a girls' night out ever again. Whenever they feel like perhaps they could leave the cow one night and stroll out to town and see what happens, write a little column about it like Carrie Bradshaw, they will understand that if that cow is not milked, she will be in absolute fucking pain. You know what I mean? She'll be forced to be milked by a fucking machine in some type of global other machine that just constantly, chews up and minces all the people of the world until a transsexual comes out, pulls the Dalai Lama out, rubs the fucking, polishes up, gets all the dust off and polishes up that fucking gong and wheels it into the shadow of the Washington Monument on Friday the 13th to celebrate the global civilized masculine world's Independence Day. It's the Independence Day. And I can't wait. I will perhaps even crack myself a beer and enjoy that frothy liquid as it drips down my tongue all the way down my throat into my belly. Thank you.